What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Getting Buzzed. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, my partner in crime here. Yes, Ryan Hallam at Fighting Chance on the old Twitter machine. Cheers, brother Ryan. How are you doing tonight?
Cheers, my friend. I'm doing very well. I was nearly blinded today, which was a scary thing. I was mowing the lawn a couple hours ago. Came around a tree, didn't know there was a little branch hanging there, and right in my eye. Somehow my reflexes closed my eye in time, or I'd be wearing an eye patch tonight. So counting my lucky stars, having a drink to that, and
there you go. I'll drink to you having both eyes.
Yes, very glad to have both eyes, but man, it was a close call.
All right. Well, safety first. Maybe you should try using some goggles while you're using the mower next time.
Never thought of it, but I might next time. All right. Anyway, yes, sports are good. We're good. Ready to have a good time. Another week has come to an end, and ready to get down and have a good time with everybody out there.
We are ready to have a good time with everybody out there. And, of course, thank you so much. If you guys haven't heard yet, tonight's guest is going to be none other than Scott Fish. And, yes, we do have a spot in the Scott Fish Bowl to give away. We'll tell you how you can get a piece of that later on here in tonight's broadcast. But as always, just want to give a quick shout out here to our parents' company, the Alarm Sports Network, Fantasy Alarm NFL Draft Guide. That's out right now. You can get that for yourself. FantasyAlarm.com/draft now. Use that promo code draft now. That gets you a little 20% off. It's ridiculously cheap. It's under $16 right now, guys. Under $16, and there's a ton of stuff. You've got an article coming up in that too, don't you, Rye?
Yeah, I got Superflex, setting up a Superflex league strategies, and I also dropped a good half dozen guys that you can target as your second quarterback, which is very, very important as Superflex. So I believe that comes out tomorrow.
Ooh.
So today, if you're watching this on Friday.
This is Friday, right? It is Friday for everybody else. Thursday night for us. Yeah. So great stuff all around. Now, listen, while everybody's sitting here and we're looking towards football, one of the things that we wanted to talk here about, I don't even need to talk about it being in the news because that's the name of our segment. So should we get to in the news?
In the news.
All right. Well, what is in the news? And that is Major League Baseball's implementation of umpires basically strip searching pitchers at random times during the game. At any point. No, I mean, listen, I joke around about that. I think personally, I think pitchers are way overreacting to this. These are the guys who they're pissing and moaning about people stealing signs. They're pissing and moaning about people cheating the game and banging on trash cans. They're pissing and moaning about steroid use, right? Well, here they go. Now they're turning the table. Back in the day when it was sweat and rosin and maybe a little bit of suntan lotion, that was helping you get the grip on the ball. Numerous pitchers have taken it a step further, as that tends to happen, and the use of spider tack, which I have no idea. What could you possibly be using spider tack for in the real world? Does it even have a real world application?
I honestly don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. All I know is I never heard of it until a couple weeks ago. So I'm not the handiest guy around the house. So yeah, I'm sure it has some viable use of sticking two things together somewhere, but I have no freaking idea what it is. I mean, I'm going to take the other side from you a little bit. It's 3 times a game, and I know the pitcher goes back into the dugout each inning, and you could probably, you could check them once and they go back in, and then they could do it the next inning. But it's a little much. I mean, they took Freddie Peralta's glove from him the other day, and the announcer was like, "Oh, he's got to go to his backup glove." I was like, I didn't know they had backup gloves. But I think it's just gotten a little much. Joe Girardi was going to fight Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer was taking his pants off on the yet again, Major League Baseball has screwed something up. I don't know what the answer is, but 3 times a game just seems like a lot. I kind of understand their frustration. I understand your points too, but It's just another thing that I think baseball has just royally screwed.
Our producer, Matt Sells, tonight saying that it's a construction-grade adhesive for sticking concrete blocks to each other.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Right? Okay. So there you go.
I'm surprised they even can throw the pitch after that then.
Well, listen, I mean, yeah, right? It's like you're throwing it and it's stuck to your hand and you can't get it off. But here's the thing. Excuse me, and I feel like I've been ranting on this the entire time. If you don't check every single pitchers who are being indignant, and I mean Max Scherzer, all right, I mean Sergio Romo, I mean any pitcher who's giving attitude to the umpires for being checked, and this is what Major League Baseball wants, and the umpires are doing it, and they should be doing it at random, and but here's the thing, like if you turn around and you start profiling which pitchers you're going to search and which ones you're not going to search, something's going to come up, right? Something's going to come up. Like, oh, you didn't, check that guy because, your wives are best buddies with each other. Oh, you checked me because I'm black. Like, I mean, we're going to end up seeing something to that effect where everybody's going to be aggravated by the reason for, being chosen to be checked, right? I mean, it's like, when you're dealing with the steroids issue, anybody who like works out in the gym is all of a sudden going to be profiled as being a steroid user. And we saw a lot of that crap go on there. So what do? You check every single pitcher. I don't care if you're a superstar like Max Scherzer, if you're a middle reliever like Sergio Romo, it doesn't matter. Everybody needs to be checked out. To turn around and be indignant about it, and to make this whole thing Scherzer with the belt and Romo with the pants and all that, like I don't even know. Did Shohei Ohtani just think that he had to take his pants down? Like the other night, I was like, what? Because he saw what was going on with Scherzer or Romo, like that. It made no sense to me whatsoever. But the fact of the matter is that why can't everybody be like Jacob deGrom? Okay,
yeah.
Best pitcher in baseball. They come to him. They search his glove and his hat. What does he do? He smiles. Thank you. Goes into the dugout. Comes back out. Boom. Same thing. When next time they search him, because I think they got him like 2 or 3 times in a 5-inning span. Yep. And what did he do? He smiled, said, "Here you go. Search. Go ahead." Like if you don't have anything to hide, Max, then why are you being such a dick about it? Like that is what I don't really understand. Why you feel the need to get so indignant about this? I mean, if you think that I shouldn't be checked because I'm Max Scherzer. What? I mean, Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer, these guys are right there at the same level as you. They should be searched. Why shouldn't you? And that I think is what's exacerbating this entire situation right now.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's also Major League Baseball's turned into like the full Monty and Magic Mike all of a sudden with all these guys looking to just drop their pants. It's like, but if you say check everybody, what do you check everybody every inning? Like, where does it end? I also just think it's very strange that they just implemented this like all of a sudden in the middle of the season. I don't know that they necessarily changed the rules at some point like that too. I know offense has been down, and obviously we all know chicks dig the long ball. But I just feel like the whole thing has been bungled, as pretty much everything has been for baseball for a while.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about the black eye for baseball? How about what Pete Alonso said? Did you hear those comments where he said MLB doctors the baseball based on the upcoming free agent class?
Oh, I did hear that. Yes.
So it's like, okay, you've got all of these, these hitters who are coming up for free agency next year. Right? So raise the seams a little bit, deaden the baseball a little bit. Pitchers have the advantage. Hitters are going to end up struggling there. What was it? Was it 20? It was 2019. Pitchers, a whole mess of starting pitchers were going to be free agents at the end of the year, and top names too. Well, there you go. All of a sudden now it's a juiced baseball, and the average ERA is like over 3.5. No, even higher than that. So. you brought up a great point before we even talked about this, and that's the NFL's got its shit together.
Oh yeah.
And baseball does not. Ironic that NFL has its shit together on this, but
I mean, they don't have all their shit together, like with all the penalties and domestic violence and all the breaking the law and stuff, but it seems to blow over better for them. Between baseball and this, and we've talked, what is this, our 8th show, and we've bitched about baseball in 6 of them probably, and one was the NFL draft night. And the NBA playoffs have been great, and it's not the same 2 teams coming to the finals every year. But the other night, that Phoenix and Clippers game, the last minute took 90 minutes. So there's no flow. They replay everything, so that the NBA loses some momentum there. And here's football. What do we talk about? The schedule release was a humongous deal. The draft they have over 3 days on national television. NFL just continues to just wipe the floor with every other sport. Nobody cares about hockey. I don't know if they're even in the discussion. NFL just continues to be king.
Yeah, they really do. And I mean, is that enough to just make sure that football remains the 365-day a year thing? Because I gotta be honest with you, man. I sit there and can sit here and cover best ball drafts, and we can pump out the draft guide content and stuff like that. But I mean, what kind of information are we really getting? And at some point, everything that we're talking about right now is going to be redundant, and it's going to be completely worthless, because everything that we're getting, and I was talking about this on the Fantasy Alarm show. Everybody's buying into all of this ridiculous beat writer hype about players and schemes and stuff like that that is so far out of whack. People are raising the ADP of Will Fuller because they're talking about focusing more on the deep passing game for Miami, right? David Montgomery is going to easily surpass his 2020 rushing totals. And everybody's like, oh, well, I gotta get him now, right? Forget about the fact that Damian Williams just got signed by Matt Nagy, who loves to have a guy who knows that offensive scheme in there. But yes, David Montgomery, according to I know I'm allowed to swear here. I try not to, but I get to that point, man, where I get so crazed over some of this stuff, and I know I shouldn't, and I need to remain a little bit more zen and a little bit more calm. It's frustrating, because beat writers nowadays in the NFL are nothing more than just mouthpieces for the coaches and the teams, right? Because they don't want to be, first of all, the coaches are feeding misinformation. We saw that from your 49ers. Kyle Shanahan is the biggest, biggest cause of that.
Yep, but, absolutely.
When we're sitting here and it's nothing but hype, and it's nothing but just blowing smoke, fantasy owners because dynasty is the biggest craze in the world right now. Everybody wants to be in a dynasty league, right? They're believing so much of this hype. I'm not going to complain that they're making my job more difficult, but dude, they're making my job more difficult.
Yeah, whenever I see something like that David Montgomery thing, and also don't forget Tariq Cohen missed most of last year, so that really padded David Montgomery's target and reception numbers, which probably won't be there in 2021. But you always got to look at the source. If it's beat writer says, or this person from The Athletic, or something like that, doesn't matter. That's just someone's opinion that they're putting out there, and because there's nothing going on right now, that's news. But it's not really news. It's somebody's opinion based on whatever they're seeing or thinking or whatever. So yeah, but you know what it is, Howard? It's just demand. That's what it is. Like, that's what people want. Do you think people want to talk about Max Scherzer and Girardi maybe fighting, or do they want to talk about David Montgomery? Like, which one is more important? And this again goes back to football being the king. I think the NBA has a real chance of passing MLB next year as like the second most popular sport, and
I think it already has.
You think so?
I think the NBA has already surpassed MLB in popularity. NBA knows how to market its stars.
They sure do.
Right?
Absolutely.
Baseball has no clue how to do it.
Well, and then the other problem is Mike Trout never says anything. L.A. for us on the East Coast plays at 10 o'clock. Nobody ever watches. Mookie Betts. Of course he's on the Dodgers. That's good, but same thing. Fernando Tatis, great pitcher, great player, has some personality. Padres. No one cares, even though they're good now. So I think they're also not only hamstrung by being bad at marketing, but their top stars are all in a lot of quiet markets.
Can't really say LA is a quiet market, though.
Well, not necessarily the Dodgers, but the Padres and the Angels.
But I mean, listen, even like LA can cover San Diego. They're close enough to each other that it can happen. You've got the Angels, you've got the Dodgers, and the Padres. They're all in that little area over there. It's not that far away. It's not like you're talking about LA versus San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, even that, it's the marketing that doesn't happen, right? It's like their CMO has his or her head so far up their ass that they don't know where to go. You should have been celebrating the Trevor Bauer versus Fernando Tatis stuff, right? You should be celebrating game-winning home runs and fun bat flips. Listen, I hate bat flips. I hate them, but if that's what the public wants, if that's what's going to bring everybody there, right? Then you might as well do it. But no. The stodgy old farts in MLB are still stuck on the unwritten rules and whatever. Super chuggy.
And look what Ohtani's doing. Like, he should be everywhere. And I understand, that I'm sure there's a language barrier there, but look at what this guy is doing. And it's like, we hear about it because we're, diehard really into baseball. But I wonder in, Nebraska, if it's being, anyone is really paying that much attention to what this guy is doing right now.
I think your hardcore baseball fans are. There's just not enough promotion for it. There really isn't. And I mean, how do you market the league's best two-way player to kids? I mean, that if there is a language barrier, that's a problem there. But like, that's the thing also, is that kids who grow up playing baseball, yeah, they're pitchers and they're still hitting, but by the time all of a sudden a kid gets to junior high, like, you're a specialist. You're either a position player or a pitcher. Yeah, you can hit as a pitcher, but when you go off to college or when you go off to the minor leagues, it's totally different, and you're pulling away from that. So, how do you even promote the best two-way guy? The
only two-way guy.
And how about hockey? Where the hell's hockey, for crying out loud, right?
They haven't gotten a thing since they tried to put that little halo around the puck. That was their last chance at trying to get anyone besides the hardcore. I don't think they care. I think they have their base. They're cool with it. They're like in Canada. They're like, hey, we're not gonna bother you or anything. But we got who we got, and we're all right with that.
We got who we got, and we're all right with that. Yeah. All right. I mean, listen, we could sit here and go off. We have gone off on it, but I'd much rather get more excited about the fact that Scott Fish is going to be joining us. Again, if you guys don't know Scott Fish, or you're living under a rock, Scott Fish runs the Scott Fish Bowl. It is the premier fantasy football. Yep, there you go. You got the shirt going on right now. Premier fantasy football industry and fans, ginormous tournament and series of leagues. Always has a great theme. The theme this year is music, which I absolutely love. And if you guys haven't caught the latest episode of the Anti-Up podcast, I have Ari Fink from Fish Radio on Sirius XM. He joined me this week, talking a little music. So tonight's top 10, how about this? Top 10 artists and bands that we've never seen live. All right, Rye, here we go. Now, before we hit this top 10, music to you. I know it's vital to me. Like, if I don't go see a Fish show soon, which I got tickets for the end of August, if I don't see a Fish show soon, I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. It's been brutal through the pandemic. I never thought, I don't miss the crowds. I don't miss talking to people. I don't miss eating in a restaurant. I miss going to a show. And that's huge for me. Is it as big for you as it is for me?
No, I'm really weird. I'm like one of the few people like I like music, yeah, but it doesn't like move me or like cause any emotions or things like I have stuff I like, obviously. A lot of it is on this list, but no, there's people who like work out to music. I'm like, I just don't get it. But I did get tickets to my first post-pandemic concert the other day, going to see the Violent Femmes and Flogging Molly at SPAC in the middle of September. So also excited to get back out to a concert and see some live music again.
Lawn seats or pavilion?
I went lawn seats. I think the pandemic also jacked up the prices of concerts big time. Lawn seats for the Violent Femmes were like $90, so it was like, wow.
Is it just you? Is it just you and the wife, or are you bringing the girls?
No. We have done some Violent Femmes dance parties where we've made them aware of the Femmes, but just the two of us.
Okay, nice. I'm sure that Morgan would want to like drag you to like a Taylor Swift show, right?
She did the weird stuff, and she was supposed to come say hi to you before we started, and she must have forgotten because she was talking about you today too.
What are you gonna do? Anyway, let's get to our top 10 list here.
All right.
Top 10 artists and bands we've never seen live. Number 10. And listen, I'm all for like seeing an icon, right? Like if you get the opportunity, and I've said this a million times to people, I don't care who it is, whether it's Celine Dion or Tom Jones. If you get the opportunity to see a musical icon, you take full advantage of that and you go see this person perform. Just because, I mean, it's you get to a certain point where, an icon is just going to pump out the hits. That's it. It's like going to a Buffett show. You go to a Jimmy Buffett show and you're getting a little cheeseburger in paradise and why don't we get drunk and screw? And, like you're going to get your Jimmy Buffett tunes that everybody knows. Well, country music is not my thing, but damn, if I could have seen Kenny Rogers live in concert, that would have done it for me, man. Really would have done it for me. The Gambler, come on.
I wonder, like, how sick of that song had he been, though? Like, how many times do you think he sang The Gambler? It's just like, at this point, before he passed, you're like, God, if I have to sing that goddamn song one more time, or one more person comes up to me and says, you got to know when to hold, and like, by the end, he had to have been pretty tired of that song, right?
I mean, I'm pretty sure every artist at some point gets sick of a song. Yeah, I saw an interview with Trey Anastasio from Phish, where he was like, he was kind of down out. He was dealing with a lot of drug and alcohol problems at the time, but he was like, if I play You Enjoy Myself one more fucking time, I'm gonna lose my shit. Like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life playing that same song over and over. So yeah, I'm sure Kenny had a couple of issues there, but I mean, come on, Coward of the County, Lucille. I mean, these are classic country tunes. I would have loved to have seen that.
Absolutely, can't go wrong there. Number 9 is like a complete 180 right turn from Kenny Rogers. And to be honest, I think I would have been scared to go to one of these shows because I believe some shit went down back in the day when they performed, and that's NWA. That was, I believe, there may have been some things went down at their shows, but that would have still been cool. They were just like, how controversial were they in their time? And the guys broke off to do their own thing, so it would have been awesome to see when they were all together back in sometime in the 80s, right?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. Like, I would have loved to have seen that back in like the late 80s. I didn't have that appreciation for the music in the late 80s. I was going to heavy metal shows. I was seeing like Iron Maiden, and Judas Priest at Madison Square Garden, as opposed to going to seeing NWA. But since then, I've seen Ice Cube perform. Obviously Eazy-E is dead, so you can't do that. But yeah, man, NWA. I mean, just the music itself. If you listen to it now, it's brilliant stuff. I wish I had the appreciation back then, and I think that's kind of what it is for me with with NWA. And you know what? And truth be told, groups like Public Enemy, artists like Kool Moe Dee, like if I had the appreciation back then that I have for it now, it'd be a whole lot of a different story.
Well, they were kind of revolutionary at the time. Like they were like the first ones that were just like really out there, just whatever they wanted to say or whatever they wanted to rap. And they faced a lot of controversy. They faced a lot of like congressional pushback to everything they did. I think the explicit lyrics thing was made for them. Like they were brought out a lot of what we have now.
Yeah. Thanks, Tipper Gore.
That's right, Tipper Gore.
All right, number 8, classic. This is just born too late, passed too soon, brilliant voice, scratchy, clawing, just kind of grizzled, little Janis Joplin. Oh my God, unbelievable. This was one of your picks, yeah.
Absolutely, I love Janis. I get made fun of her liking her. I'm not really sure why. I think has how many classic songs. I think everyone can sing the Me and Bobby McGee in a bar, Mercedes Benz, Piece of My Heart. She's got a million of them. That would have been a great show.
Yep, Big Brother and the Holding Company. That was quite the group, man. Wow, I love that. All right, number 7. Never got to see him live. I don't know. Did you ever get to see Nirvana?
I was never into Nirvana. That was like the one grunge band from the 90s that I was just like, I don't know why. I don't know if it was like they were so popular, like. So I was just like, I'm not going to like them because they're popular. I mean, a few of their songs are all right, but I never really got into Nirvana. But Kurt Cobain, obviously, genius musician. Again, another one gone too soon. And they were one of the leaders of when I was in high school. But no, I never was able to see them.
Yeah, I never got a chance. I mean, it was the 90s, and I was I was following Fish around at that point.
Really, that long, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was, geez, yeah. First time I saw Fish was 1989.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. See, 11/10/89, first show, baby. Bam, bam. Which is really funny because I'm in the Fish division for Scott Fishbowl. This is like the first time that I'm like actually talking to other people who had like seen them back in the day like that. Sigmund Bloom from Football Guys, he's like an old school Fish guy too, so it's pretty funny to talk to people who like did that whole like I did because being in New York and going to school upstate in at Hamilton, it was like that Hamilton, Union, Hobart, like all those like upstate New York colleges where Fish would zip around and we'd zip around with them. So some fun stuff, no doubt. All right, so Nirvana comes in at number 7. Number 6, this is another one here. Had I just been born, I don't know, what, 10, 15 years earlier, could have seen the Doors, man. Could have seen the Doors.
Yeah, another classic band, just tune after tune. Jim Morrison, absolute icon in music history. That certainly would have been a great show to go to.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, it definitely would have. Number 5, still able to probably go and see this if I wanted to. And I spoiled it a little bit earlier there, but man, I tell you, this girl, her beats, they slap. Let's talk about a little Taylor Swift, right? I mean, it's funny. Like I'm friends with Chris Kuroda, who's the lighting designer for Fish, right? He also did the lights for Justin Bieber. He also did the lights for Ariana Grande. And I've seen like the videos of the stuff that he did for both of those artists. And then I just kind of see those shows. And to me, I got to be honest with you. I don't care what you think of her music at all. Taylor Swift right now is an American icon. Like she is, she's the actress and she's the singer and, she's just super popular. And, it's like one of those things where, I don't want to be the 50-year-old creeper guy who goes to see a Taylor Swift show, but damn, I tell you, man, as she gets older, if she just kind of does like a little singer-songwriter type of thing, a little low-key, I'd go to a bar and check it out.
Is she still beefing with Katy Perry, or is that over with now?
I don't know. Did she beef with Katy Perry?
Don't they have like a song that's like about each other? That's I thought I heard that. I'm not really plugged in with the whole thing, but I was hoping that you knew about that. There's something going on between them. Someone let us know on Twitter when you watch this. But I think
there you go. At Fighting Chance, at Roto Buzz Guy, hashtag Getting Buzzed. Can you shed some light on the Taylor Swift Katy Perry feud? to which Ryan is talking about. Me, I can't, which is why let's move on to number 4, Ryan.
I mean, I think if it's not consensus, the greatest group of all time, it's at least the top 3. Again, we were born way too late, but the Beatles is just, obviously that would be the greatest. There would be the pomp and circumstance and, smoke shows and lights and what it is now. But to me, it's the greatest band of all time. I would love to have seen them once.
I agree. I had a chance. I've seen Paul McCartney solo.
I saw Ringo in his all-star band when I was a kid.
See, there you go.
So I guess I saw one.
We've seen a piece of the Beatles, but yeah, here's the funny thing.
So
the reason I kind of want to see the Beatles is because, you see it on TV all the time. Just the girls up the front that are just crying and screaming and they're so fanatical about, like, I get to a Fish show and you see the people who are like running up to the front and they got to be like, riding the rail there in the front. But to like see the video of like just being so crazed about a band or an artist that you're just bawling and screaming at the top of your lungs. I wish I could have seen that in person.
And they're just like, they were always bouncing. I don't understand what they were doing. Yeah, and to think like, that was a time when their lyrics and Elvis Presley was like, the teenagers can't listen to this stuff. And now you listen to it's like, I want to hold your hand, and now we have like strippers slapping booty and ass and everything. Like this was bad back then. I want to hold your hand, and all you need is love was like the taboo stuff now, and now it's like twerking and booty slapping and whatever. It's like crazy to me how things have progressed over the years.
Yet another reason why I'm glad I don't have kids. Sorry, no offense, but I'm glad that I didn't have to deal with like, no. Number 3, another icon. And this is one who I haven't seen, who
I'm kind of surprised, to be honest.
I almost got a chance to go to the show, but I was like caught working and never had it. Maybe at some point he's got like a little residency in Vegas somewhere. Who knows? Neil Diamond, dude. That dude busts out the hits. I sent a guy came to me when I was tending bar in New York. And he says to me, he's like, oh, okay, so, buddy of mine at work wants me to go to the Neil Diamond show with him. And I was like, and? He's like, yeah, why do I want to go? Because he's going to bust out Sweet Caroline and Cracklin' Rosie and America and every hit that he's ever done. And, you're divorced, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you're in your 40s, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you think there's going to be packs of single 40-year-old women there as well? He's like, oh, no, I never thought about that. I'm like, you're sitting there and you're like, ba, ba, ba. You're going to like arm in arm with like a whole bunch of people and just enjoy it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, he went and he had the best time of his life.
It's the official white person anthem, Sweet Caroline. You just, anytime you get into a bar filled with 40, 50 white people, you put on Sweet Caroline and you got a party.
Well, it's the same thing. You're out here in San Francisco and somebody puts on Don't Stop Believin'.
Well, that's and you know what? Guilty as charged. Number 2, to me, this is the one that I really would love to see. It would probably be my number 1, and it was exacerbated by Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie that came out a few years ago. I would have loved to see Freddie Mercury and Queen. I just think they're not only their songs you could just sing every single one of them. They're all about crazy fun stuff. Freddie Mercury just seemed like he was an awesome showman. I would absolutely have loved to see Queen.
Yeah, I would have died to see Queen. I remember watching Live Aid on TV, and what was it, 83? 84?
That's what I think, yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. I mean, it really was. And to see, I mean, just the showman that he is. And, in the movie, they really highlight that whole aspect of like the crowd participation kind of thing. And, it's so funny because you hear a lot of artists who talk about that, when the crowd starts singing your songs back to you, it's just this unreal feeling. It really is, to know that your music, your lyrics, everything about, you at the show has touched your audience to this point where they just, it's anthems to them. So yeah, that would have been Absolutely outstanding. How do you feel about the number one artist/band that we've never seen live but wish we did?
That's another great one. Absolutely. Led Zeppelin, obviously just an absolute classic library of songs that can go on for hours and hours. They just, I mean, I think Stairway to Heaven might be like their 10th best song, and that's the one that everybody knows. But that album 4, I think, was probably my favorite. They just have a ton of great songs.
One of my favorite bands of all time, no doubt about it. I got to see Robert Plant a couple of years ago, doing his solo thing. Voice is great, looks, like Robert Plant. It's weird to to see that. But yeah, I mean, you want to talk about like just an amazing force in him, Jimmy Page, John Bonham, and John Paul Jones. To have gotten to see those shows live would have been nuts, absolutely nuts. I would have been hog heaven, dude, hog heaven. I mean, it's crazy. With my love for music, you would think that I would actually like be in the music business as opposed to in sports.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how it happened either. Fortunately, we get to mix the two. They blend together. Where the Scott Fish Bowl, right? 2,000 teams. I don't even know how many divisions there are. How many divisions are there? Do we know?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. 2,000 divided by 12. So
2,000 divided by 12. I can't do that math in my head right now, but you know who can? Our guest coming up here. You know him. You love him. He runs the Scott Fish Bowl. Why? Because he's Scott Fish. Hashtag Fantasy Cares. Welcome, everybody, to Getting Buzz, my man, Scott Fish. Oh, Scott, look at you. Scott's wearing his Scott Fish Bowl shirt. Ryan's wearing his Scott Fish Bowl shirt. I feel like I can either say I feel like a schmuck right now for not, but I think of this more as the guy who goes to the concert and doesn't wear the T-shirt of the band that he's seeing right now. So,
PCU, baby.
I thought the same thing, and I was like, is that what I'm doing? Am I the guy who's wearing the shirt of the band he went to see? But I had to do it anyway. It's laundry day. This is what I had. I only have 3 of the shirts from last year, so always happy to rep the Scott Fish Bowl, and of course RotoWare as well. So I think it's all right.
I think it's all right too. I order the summer line every year. Every year I do. I get like the full amount. I'm like, I never have to do laundry again, so I feel great about it. Scott, how are you, man? It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us, because I know that you are mad crazy busy right now.
Oh, yeah, it is crazy busy, but it's a lot of fun. Every bit of work is worth it. I will say, when I go on shows, my biggest fear is that I'll be wearing the same SFB shirt as someone else. So I'm glad we didn't have that happen here.
No, well, do me a favor here, because I mean, listen, everybody knows the Scott Fish Bowl, right? But for all intents and purposes, a lot of people, they just think about it as the fantasy leagues and competing for this great overall sensation. But I mean, really, the heart of this whole thing comes down to hashtag Fantasy Cares on Twitter. Why don't you do me a favor? Give us the basic rundown of how the Scott Fish Bowl actually started. And then obviously all the just amazing charity work that you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So the Fish Bowl it actually started as the FF Oasis Invitational back in 2010 as a reader league for the site I ran at that time. Did it that way for a couple of years, but we did the same thing. It was 96 teams. We brought in a bunch of analysts from around the industry, like Mike Clay and Jeff Hasley, and a bunch of guys around the industry from sites, so our readers could listen or play with them. And then a couple of years in, I closed down my site and I needed a new name. And Twitter came up with a Fish Bowl. It just seemed to work. And every year we've gotten bigger and bigger. We've added more analysts. And 2013 or 2014, we added a charitable element to it. And that is something I had been pushing on radio spots and podcasts for a while, that if you're in a fantasy league, take one entry fee, give it to charity. There's hundreds of thousands of fantasy leagues out there. And if we all band together and do this, we can do a ton of good out there. It could be any charity, right? And so I brought that to the Fishbowl. There's no entry fee. It's a free league. You just do it out of the kindness of your heart. You're donating to, whether it be Fantasy Cares, where we over the years have supported, the majority of our support goes to Toys for Tots, but we've supported Equal Justice Initiative and food shelves and hurricane relief and things like that come up in various years. But yeah, that's the big charitable part behind it. But last year we decided we're going to push everybody. We still take that in, but we also are just pushing everybody. Find something you're passionate about. Find something you want to give to, a charity you want to give to, because I feel like, first off, a lot of charities, they need a lot right now. But also, secondly, if you find something you're passionate about, you're more likely to keep giving to that place or bring it to your league, which was my goal in the first place. So that's kind of a crux. It's one of the several big tenets of SFB.
So yeah, and I think you've seen that all over Twitter over the past couple of years, as you see more and more leagues popping up that are giving some, portion of the proceeds to charity. And obviously you're a huge part of that. I've considered that myself. I'm involved in local SPCA in my county, and I've thought about putting something together. I haven't done it yet. Maybe I will. But I mean, so much of that credit goes to you. That was nothing that was going on before this came around. So I think that's absolutely awesome. Is like charity work something like a family thing that came around to you, or is that something that you come in later in life that's important to you? How did that come into play?
I feel like it's always been there. It's just been amplified over the last few years. My wife and I usually give to around 25, 30 charities each year. But I think it really came on strong in 2014 after my heart attack. And I realized, I want to be the best possible version of myself. I want to be the best possible role model for my 1-2-year-old kid at the time, right? He's 8 now. So maybe 3-year-old kid at the time. And I want to be I want to be able to be a good role model for the people around me. But I also, especially the last few years, I've developed a little bit of a platform, and I've always had this sense of belief that if you have a platform, whether it be now or sometime in the future, if you ever have a platform, do good with it. Be a leader, be a role model, and lead by example. And I think that's really played into this.
And that's huge. I mean, it really is. And you talk about it because there's so many things that go on. Dan Klaskins from the Fantastics, he does the Do Good Fantasy, where he just runs all these best balls, and the proceeds all go to the disabled American veterans. Yep. And I try to support him with that as much as possible. With the work that you do with the Scott Fishbowl. It definitely helped inspire the charity aspect of the fantasy football pie bet that we did at Fantasy Alarm a couple of years ago. And
that was awesome.
And it's also, that whole element, I mean, people sit there, they come to me and they're like, oh, you give me all this advice on Twitter. I appreciate it. What's your PayPal? I want to send you $50 or something like that. And I'm always like, you know what? Norsled is the animal rescue that I support over here in the Bay Area, and I just donate to Norsled. Donate to Norsled, and that's all I could possibly ask for that. So I mean, you really, I mean, it's an inspirational thing, and I know that you've received the humanitarian awards, and and I think you get all of this recognition, yet you stay so emotionally grounded too, which I think is probably one of the reasons that it just draws so many people into it. And that's a testament to you just personally, Scott, just as like a nice guy. It's not just Scott, the charity guy. It's like Scott, but I mean, like, this is him. This is who he is. I love that genuine aspect about you, man. I really do.
Well, thank you, man. I'm bad at accepting compliments. I usually just say thank you, but this is incredibly kind words, and I'm glad that people, seem to see me that way, and because this is who I am, and I'm not. Yeah, this is exactly who I am. So I'm glad that people see it that way.
And also, I will throw in that you almost changed the theme this year because of the bullshit that women deal with on Twitter, and all these guys who come in and tell them to stay in the kitchen and all this other crap, that you not only made a point to make sure that more women were involved in your tournament, but also, and I assume it's the theme next year already, is influential women. And I think that's also very important as the fantasy industry sees an entire influx of women, which is fantastic. For the longest time, this has been a male-dominated industry. But I have no idea why we think that women can't enjoy sports and analyze sports and things like that. So I noticed that pivot that you took. I thought that was also awesome. I know Howard's kind of glad you kept music as the theme, but
make me sound anti-women. Thank you.
No,
that's great. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I talked to a lot of women in the industry behind the scenes about that, and some were like, yeah, that's great. Some were like, maybe not try to rush this, and maybe set it for next year, do it right. Maybe set up a site where we can learn about all these influential women that we're partaking in the divisions of, things like that. Like I got a lot of good feedback before making that decision to potentially do it next year instead of this year. And on the women front, yeah, I mean, diversity on multiple levels. We need more of it in our industry. We just do. And it starts with representation, right? So that I had a day on Twitter where I said, if you're a woman and you want to be in the fishbowl, just reply and I'll get you in. And we have 400 or 500 women in this thing this year. And that's almost a quarter of the 20 to 25% of this field is women this year, and they're just all over. And people will be able to see, many of these women will start producing content, and then women fantasy players will see women doing content, and it could be a huge cascade event. It's a really good thing to get more representation out there, of diversity on multiple levels.
Absolutely. I think racial, diversity, sexuality diversity, everything like that. Sports are just for everybody, man. I don't know why, things have been the way they have for the longest time. It's so great to see things changing, and I think it's certainly, sports is something like you just, when you meet somebody that likes sports, that loves sports, it's just like an automatic talking point, and it's just like, it's an automatic bonding experience. It shouldn't matter who the person is or what color they are or what their what their sexuality is. It's just, sports are just, that's what they're great at. They just bring people together.
Yeah, and you see that at these events. I've met Howard in an event, and like, even though you've never met, you're like best friends, and you can you have this common connection, and that's such a great point there. It's such a great point.
It really is. And I'll tell you what, though, I mean, it's also, I started a fantasy football league for like FA Nation, for the women of Fantasy Alarm Nation. And it's there's an old Harry Belafonte song called "Man Smart, Woman Smarter." Right. Nice. So it's the man smart, woman smarter. The Grateful Dead covered it. And so it's the man smart, woman smarter league. And like, we joke about it because I'm just the commissioner. I sit back and I and there are a number of these girls. I'm pretty sure the majority of them are all in the Scott Fishbowl, because I immediately sent to the league when I saw that tweet from you, Scott. I was like, oh, this is going to get ugly. Right. Because they are, I mean, it's so funny. The women in this league, I'd put this league of women against any men in fantasy, and I mean they'll crush it. They will crush it. So listen, the fact that we're still there are way too many people who are just still stuck in the 50s and 60s, right? And it's just, I mean, it's set. You know what I mean? It's male ego. Let's face facts. It's male ego. It's that machismo kind of thing. That, and now you're mixing competition into it as well. And I think that's really kind of where it all kind of falls apart. It falls apart because of the male ego.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, you see these trophies over here from my home league. Last year's winner in our home league was a woman, and she won like 3 or 4 years before. Like, she's won twice in the last 5 years. She's the only woman in the league. It'd be great to have more, but she's good. Like, it doesn't matter.
My wife has 2 fantasy football championships and 1 fantasy baseball championship under her belt, and it is the sexiest thing, right? I mean, it really is. Like when she beats me, I'm like, damn.
My wife could give a shit about sports, but that's okay too.
Yeah, my wife doesn't play either, but my wife is a badass, very strong, powerful woman. I love that.
Yeah, mine is the breadwinner of the family and executive at a credit union. Yeah, or else I would not be able to do this. So
I don't think any of us would be able to be in the fantasy industry if we didn't have like a strong woman behind us supporting us. Right?
It's a very common theme in our industry.
It really is. It really is. So shout out to all of our. I'll drink to all of our badass wives and all the badass ladies in our world. Right there, it is.
All right. So the theme this year is music. I know last year was toys. Obviously, I played in the video games one. So how do you what have some of the other themes have been, and how do you choose them from year to year?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Honestly, I just crowdsource it to try to figure out what it's going to be every year. One year it was actors and actresses. One year I believe it was TV shows. One year it was Tecmo Bowl. One of the early years it was actually just Will Ferrell. It was Will Ferrell movies and characters, and it's way too big for that now. But I look back at that one, I'm like, how did we make a whole SFB out of just one guy? But we did it. There's been some interesting ones.
Is music a big part of your life? Like Ryan and I were just talking. So our top 10 list, we do a top 10 here on the show all the time.
Right.
And it was top 10 artists / bands that we never got a chance to see live that we wish we did. Like, so is music? Music's huge for me. Huge for me. Is it a big deal for you?
It's actually not, and I feel bad saying this, especially with this theme this year. Like, I enjoy music, but even when I worked at Pepsi before I was full time here doing fantasy, I would listen to podcasts all night. I know a lot of songs, but I was on a show earlier this week, and they were quizzing me on like band members, and I'm like, if it's band members or album names, I don't know them. I know songs.
I'm with you, man.
I know songs, but I don't retain that kind of knowledge, and I'm thoroughly impressed with those that do. But yeah, it's just not me. I enjoy the music though.
So you've been nice enough to give us a spot to give away during this show. So I'll come up with a little 3-question quiz that people are going to answer, and of course a tiebreaker, because I hope that people will actually watch the show and then answer the questions correctly. So one of the questions is going to be a band that you would always have loved to see that you haven't seen. So grace us with one of those.
I haven't seen. Okay.
Yes. It can be an old band. Like we had Led Zeppelin and Queen on our lists. We had, so anything.
So, I mean, a lot of the bands that immediately come to mind are like my era of really listening to music was like that Linkin Park, Blink 182, like even before that to the Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Aerosmith, like that early 90s to late 90s era, Third Eye Blind in the late 90s too, I guess. So it'd probably be something along those. I think just for the historic nature of it, I've never seen Aerosmith, and that would be cool to have on my slate. I guess if I was gonna have to say one, might have been really cool to see Beastie Boys. I guess Sabotage is arguably my favorite song of all time. So let's go with Beastie Boys, just because that would have been cool to see live.
Beastie Boys is the correct answer for the giveaway. So what is? There's some different scoring every year. Things change. A lot of it's a change, the same from year to year. But what's new this year in Scott Fish Bowl 11?
So this is actually the first year we did not change scoring. We added kickers in the flex, and we made the draft third round reversal. So I guess we did change scoring, that we added kicker scoring to it. It was an interesting one for me. It's the 3RR, the third round reversal part was for, just to push out there in the community, the industry, that this can be done. It's been around for 15 years, but I think a lot of the public maybe doesn't know about it, doesn't know that it can help. Basically, the idea behind third round reversal is that the top 2 or 3 draft spots have a higher percentage chance of winning your league basically every year. RotoViz's data has proven this. And third round reversal, when you flip the third round, the guy picking 12th will pick first in the third round instead of last, and that is just enough to balance out your chances of winning from any draft slot, or so we hope.
I forgot about the whole third round reversal thing. I in the 10th spot. in mine. I was like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like salivating over that. Of course, the fish division, Scott, crazy stacked.
It is
crazy stacked.
Yeah, I looked at that one and I'm like, wow, there's some names in this. There are some people in this one.
That's right. I'm bringing them all onto SiriusXM next week so I can get everybody's draft strategy kind of figured out right from the start.
Good call.
No doubt. All right. Well, like in addition to all of this, Scott, that you put together, that you compete in the Scott Fish Bowl as well.
I do. Yep.
What division are you again?
I'm in the Beastie Boys division, and maybe we should change the answer just so someone doesn't guess it super easy.
Well, it's multi-layered, so it's okay to have an easy one.
We're good. Yeah. By the way, the person that wins your contest will play against Ryan in his division.
Oh, nice. Okay, then the Weezer division.
Yep.
Wow, that just got a lot easier for whoever wins. You just go right past Ryan. Get that. Oh, all right. So one of the things that I think, and new people to the Scott Fish Bowl, like it's sort of become this like underground sort of cult thing that people sort of realize that when you're scrolling through the player pool, all of a sudden you start seeing something random. You're like, can I draft Scott Fish as my quarterback?
Yeah,
I did that. I did last year.
Where there are Easter eggs basically all throughout the player pool. How did that whole thing start?
It actually started in SFB 3 or 4. It was the Tecmo Bowl themed year, which was one of our first years, like third or fourth year, and I thought it'd be funny to put in Bo Jackson and Tom Rathman and like all those guys into the player pool. And people just freaked out about it. And so I've done it basically every year since. I've tried to figure out, movie football players and stuff like Air Bud and Shane Falco and Johnny Utah and get all those in there. But each year I add some and it's fun.
Did the Dolphins call you back this year or?
They never did. I put for your listeners, I put myself in as the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. One either last year or the year before. Never got the call though.
Because they were too embarrassed by the fact that you're probably better than Tua. I'm just saying. Don't at me.
Oh, nice.
Well, so do you have any leans, players who you're just kind of like, listen, I don't want you to give away your strategy and stuff, but you are you're part of this whole industry and you're sitting here scouting players as well. Do you have a player or two who you're like, this is a guy who, if he falls to me, I'm scooping him up?
Fishbowl related or otherwise? Actually, either way.
Either way.
Either way, one thing I'm finding myself doing is grabbing several of, especially in Fishbowl, because Fishbowl the tight end premium is pretty strong in Fishbowl, which gives them a nice floor. Like a 4 for 40 game can be double-digit points in Fishbowl, and that's pretty easy for a tight end to hit. That's a pretty normal stat line, 4 for 40. So I found myself gravitating towards grabbing and this is the list everybody knows, but like the Cole Kmets and the Anthony Ferksers and the Adam Troutmans and even super late, Hayden Hurst. I think he now with Julio gone, he might have some chance. The Irv Smiths and guys like that are going in those late single digits, even double digit rounds that are very possibly very starting tight end worthy. I find myself gravitating towards trying to get some of those on my roster because all my leagues are tight end premium.
All right. Well, dude, I got to tell you, man, are you excited for these drafts to start up? The grind, I guess, the grind of getting everybody in to getting everybody on My Fantasy League, which is the website that you use to run it. Like, when does Scott Fish get to breathe a little easier?
I get to breathe easy starting on Wednesday of the drafts, because Wednesday of the drafts is like that's the start of day 3 and all the drafts should be in round 2 by then, which means everybody has shown up and I've put out the fires, and now it's just people drafting. That's when I get to breathe. That's everything is downhill and much smoother after that point. But yeah, it's really, really crazy right up until that point. I am excited for the drafts to start, but I wouldn't mind an extra day or two to be squeezed in there somehow. It's coming too fast.
Yeah, man. Between you get the people who like badmouth you on Twitter for not inviting them, and then for the people who can't show up to the draft, I'm sure you deal with a lot of crap to put this together, which makes it even better, man, that you do this great thing not only for charity but for the fantasy football industry, bring everybody together. Like it's the greatest thing every year, man. I love being in it. I appreciate you including me in it, and man, I just anything we can do to pump it up. Not that it needs it at all, but if you do fantastic work.
No, thank you. But Fantasy Alarm, you guys have been, man, you guys have gone way above and beyond to help out with Fishbowl, whether it be, letting me know of really good, team managers to put in it that are just good people that embody the spirit of, and maybe that's just the Fantasy Alarm family. Like you just have that spirit of Fishbowl, the Fishbowl spirit anyway. Like it sounds like with the people you've brought in and all of you guys play. It's really wonderful how supportive you guys have been.
We're super excited about it. I got Jim Bowden to apply this year. Because we're on the air and I start talking Scott Fishbowl and he, and now he's like, he's super pumped. He loves me. He's in the Rolling Stones division. He only wants Rolling Stones music played now on the show. So I dig it. I definitely do.
That's great.
So Scott, when we bring a guest on to Getting Buzz, we always play a little game with our guests. So are you ready to have a little bit of fun?
Let's do it.
Well, it's kind of funny because we're actually going to test your musical knowledge.
Oh, boy.
Here,
let's do it.
Thinking, hey, it's a music theme. Of course, Scott knows music. So the name of the game is Happened to Me in Real Life or I Heard It in a Song.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a phrase, and then you're going to tell me whether or not this is something that happened to me in real life or if this is something from a song.
I got it.
I wrote them all out so that you couldn't figure out what's what. All right. So I'm going to read them. First one. Here you go. So I used to hang out at the Parkway Diner with my friends Brenda and Eddie, who are prom king and queen in our high school. They got married. It didn't work out because they kept fighting over money.
Yeah.
Real life.
That's
I heard that in a song.
That's a song. I heard that in a song.
Okay. You're right. Do you know what song it is?
I think it's a Mellencamp song, right?
No, that's you're thinking Jack and Diane.
I'm thinking Jack and Diane. That's what I'm thinking. You're right.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel. Sure. Similar era.
All right, so that's 1 point for you. Look at you. Look at you already. So proud. Here you go. Second one. My wife and I drove across country with our dog Boo. We got caught swiping fresh eggs from a farm.
I'm going to go with That's You.
That's me?
Yep.
Sorry. It's from a song called Me and You and a Dog Named Boo.
Oh, sure.
If it's any consolation, Scott, I didn't hear that one either.
I dug deep to the 70s there, man, right?
Yeah.
Before all you kids were born.
Hey, I was born in the 70s. I mean,
when were you born?
October 19th, 1979, but
so 2 months left.
2 months to go in the 70s, but
I'm a whole preteen older than you. All right, here you go. Next one. And you know what? You as a dad, you're going to appreciate this one. My dad worked all the time. Had no time for me over the years. Now that he's old and retired, I don't have time for him anymore.
Yeah, that's Cats in the Cradle.
There you go. See, every dad knows that song.
Yeah.
Every dad knows that song. 2 for Scott, 1 for me. Are you keeping score here, Ryan? All right, last one. Here you go. It's either going to end
the hands.
It's either going to end in a tie or Scott wins. Scored a date with the most popular girl in school. Her name was Susie Greenberg. Ran into her a few days later after the date. and she already forgot my name.
The start of that, I was really thinking it was a song, but the end of it, I think this happened to you.
So when he thinks that a girl forgot your name, he thinks that's legit, Howard.
Wow.
There's not enough rhyming in that for me, I think. I'm gonna go with that's you, Howard.
Little Susie Greenberg with her head caved in. That's all right. That's a song as well.
They're all just songs.
And that was a Fish song.
Oh, yeah, I can't even name a single Fish song. I'm sorry.
Well, now you can. It's called Susie Greenberg.
Susie Greenberg. All right.
Yeah, all right. So there you go. It was a tie. I don't even have to give. Ryan, do you have any? You didn't come up with anything. Ryan doesn't know music either.
I'm with you, Scott. But let's go with one more. Let's go with Work's Got Me Down. So I grabbed my bike and drove it across the country.
That happened to you. You did that.
Didn't happen to me, but it happened to one of our former guests, Sandro, which is one of the producers of Sirius XM Radio.
See, I was wondering because I knew for a fact Sandro did that. he was my producer on Sirius XM when I had a Sirius XM show.
I thought Howard came up with them all, and then when you were going to get your drink, he was like, "Hey, you got yours?" And I was like, "I thought you had them all." So I was like, "Oh, I got Sandro's story in my head," so we went with that. So. Scott,
why don't you have a show on Sirius right now, Scott?
I should talk to Matt about that. I should see if I can get a new show.
Good. Well, Scott, Matt Deutsch here. Talk to me. Do you want a show?
Oh, nice.
All
so
right.
Scott, you won 3-2.
Did he win?
I mean, it didn't happen to me, but it wasn't a song, so he wins.
You know what? I think the fact that Scott Fish was here, we're all winners. How about that?
Oh no! This is a great time. This is a very fun time. I'm glad you guys brought me on. I like having a drink and talking some fishbowl and some football and stuff. That's fun.
We appreciate you taking the time, man. I know that it's just crazy busy with you, but again, thank you so much. Do me a favor, tell everybody, give websites, links, whatever you possibly can give so that people can, contribute to Fantasy Cares.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Sure. ScottFishBowl.com is where you can sign up to play in the Fishbowl. There's almost no spots left, but you can sign up for next year or sign up to play in a satellite. I will also have links on there for the Podathon, which is a 24-hour Podathon that Salito does. And we raise money during it for Toys for Tots. And this year, 10% is going to go to Trevor Project. So we'll be doing that for 24 hours. Yeah, I'll have a link for that. But that's where you can donate to help the cause. And let's see what else. Scottfish24 on Twitter is where you can find whatever else I'm doing, I guess.
Love it. All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much, man. Again, appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything that you do for the industry. You are loved, my brother. You are loved. And I don't think anybody in the world could, ever turn around and say, well, that sucks. So cheers, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. Scott Fish, thanks so much for joining us here. Now it's time for, you hear it.
Last call. Last call.
All right, before we get to go on this final rant here for last call, again, a big thank you to Scott Fish. No doubt about it. At ScottFish24 on the old Twitter machine, ScottFishBowl.com. Get in there. If you're not in it this year, well, again, we're giving away a spot. So,
I just want to point out that one of the questions is going to be the color of your shirt. And since you have two on, and that one's kind of funky with the palm trees, the answer is going to be your undershirt of black. So there's no confusion. So that shirt.
This shirt,
black.
The Fantasy Alarm shirt?
The Fantasy Alarm shirt is black. That is going to be the correct answer, not this black, white striped palm tree shirt.
Well, Tommy Bahama says up yours, Ryan.
Well, that's possibly true.
There you go. But anyway, there it is. So big thanks. Look for... Ryan's going to be tweeting out how to win this Scott Fishbowl spot at Fighting Chance on the old Twitter machine, and make sure you give him a follow. and he'll be tweeting out what the questions are, how to get involved, and how to score that coveted spot. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about here, again, there's a big issue I guess it's for me really that it's been going on, and it kind of drives me nuts. And maybe it's my hatred for social media. Maybe it's the fact that I find it impossible to have conversations with certain people. And I'll just give you the example. Met fans. Hi, Met fans. How are you? I can't stand you. I really can't. Like, here's the deal. I'm talking about Jacob deGrom, right? And he leaves one game after 3 innings because of shoulder and arm issues, right? Then he comes back and he starts anyway the next time, 5 days later, and he leaves after 3 innings again. Mets sent him for the MRI. Oh, you know what? No, we don't see any structural damage. There's nothing there. My stance has always been, well, if back-to-back starts he leaves, who he is and the value that he has to your team says to me, you want to rest him. You want to make sure he's okay. You want to do your due diligence. Mets have him out there the next day playing long toss out in the outfield as if there was nothing ever wrong with him. I'm saying rest the guy. If he misses 2 starts here, then what's the big deal, right? That was my philosophy about it. Mets do not have a good track record for pitchers and injuries. And we can go backwards where? We can go to Thor. We can go to the big 3. What was it? Isringhausen, Pulsifer, and Paul Wilson. They were going to be the greatest trio of pitchers of all time. The Mets just their medical staff has been a huge letdown. So all I'm saying is deGrom is far too valuable to lose for the long term. Now, I couple that with the fact that I'm giving fantasy advice. And my fantasy advice was, if you are afraid of deGrom being hurt long term, all right, if you believe that where there's smoke, there's fire, the best thing that could have happened right now was that deGrom threw those 5 innings in his last outing, and they pinch hit for him, and he looked phenomenal. Why? Because if you are afraid that you're going to lose this guy, you can still now trade him at full value. I don't see anything wrong with that. Talk to me, Byron Buxton owners, right? I told you back in late April, early May, that as great as he is right now, trade him. Because what the hell makes you think that this is the year Byron Buxton stays completely healthy and he dominates, right? Everybody's like, you're an asshole. You don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. What happened? Oh, yeah, Byron Buxton. How's that value going right now? What can you trade him for right now? Nothing. 0. All right? If something happens to deGrom, same thing. Nothing. 0. You're not getting full value. So my feeling about it is that this is a fantasy league, and if you run the risk of losing that kind of value, if you've got somebody who wants him, who's willing to give you full value for him, trade him straight up for Fernando Tatis Jr., trade him straight up for Shohei Ohtani, if it's a daily roster moves, and you can use him as both a hitter and a pitcher. If somebody's like, I'll give you Brandon Woodruff and Matt Olson, you take those deals, because you're not incurring the same risk as a guy who did. Met fans coming at me as if I'm like sitting here bashing Jacob deGrom. No, I've already said he's the best pitcher in baseball. I give my left nut and my right eye to have him in a Yankees uniform. All right? But fantasy is fantasy. It's like business. And you can't sit there with your stupid fandom and say, no. I'm not cracking on deGrom. All right, I'm cracking on the fact that here's a dude who could get hurt, and if you can trade him at full value right now, you might want to think about doing it. Learn to separate the two. Ryan, I'm sure you've dealt with this at some point or another.
Absolutely, and we talked about this in the Family Times podcast last week. It's just like, what if you can get a good deal for deGrom? Because it's like, what, the 3rd time or the 4th time he's left to start early. Like, there are warning signs right in your face, and I know he's having a legendary season, and he's drove in more runs than he's allowed, but I mean,
I hate
how many
that stat, dude. I hate that stat.
It's amazing.
It's a pointless stat. It's pointless. It's worthless.
Pointless. It shows how awesome he's been as a pitcher, that as a crappy hitter, he's driven in more runs. But the point is, like, again, there's warning signs. And when there's warning signs, you have to be smart enough to see them. I see no way, unless they rest him, that Jacob deGrom makes it through this season fully healthy. Is there a chance? Yeah, there's a chance. But there's a hell of a lot bigger chance that he's going to possibly miss a significant amount of time given these injuries that he's had. And I love his competitiveness, and of course he wants to continue this record-breaking season. But sometimes the players are their own worst enemies, and I'm sure he wants to go out there every 5 days. But one of these times, it's not going to be. He's going to be ready for his next start, and then you're going to be left with your ass in your hand and missing your number one starter. So, like you said, Woodruff and Olsen, absolutely. Tatis, absolutely. I mean, don't sell them for 50 cents on a dollar, but if you can sell them for 85 cents on a dollar, I mean,
not even 85. You can get full value for him. Somebody will do it. Somebody will give you, Yu Darvish and Bryce Harper. Somebody will give you Yu Darvish and some other fantastic hitter. Like, I mean, you can come up with these endless possibilities. There is somebody in your league who is willing to give you full value for the guy. And again,
probably a Mets fan.
Don't fall in love with players. Like, that's the biggest mistake you can possibly make when it comes to fantasy sports. It's like being a homer and drafting all your favorite players from your home team, right? Guess what? When a slump happens, it's going to screw your fantasy team over. If injuries get ravaged through the team, it's going to screw your fantasy team over. You cannot fall in love with players. Nobody should be untradeable. That's what I'm saying here. Learn to separate fantasy from reality. That's all I got to say about that. So big thank you again to all of you for tuning in here to Getting Buzz. Again, extra love and thanks to Scott Fish for joining us here. For Ryan Hallam, I'm Howard Bender. Big thanks to our producer, Matt Sells, too. Catch you next time.